First of all, you need to gather together all the bits and pieces you'll need for this part of the project. You need some interesting foliage from the garden. You need a couple of different colours of paint, some paint brushes, a piece of plain white paper or two, and some newspaper in the background. You'll also need a handy towel or paper towel. Right, let's get started. First of all, put a small blob of each colour of paint onto a saucer or something that you can paint from. Paint a reasonable amount of paint onto each piece of the foliage. Make sure to cover the foliage completely. Turn it down, face down onto your plain white paper. Press each of the pieces of foliage down onto the paper nice and firmly so that they are going to print well. Place the paper towel over top of the foliage and press down. Find each of the pieces of foliage with your fingers under the paper towel and continue to press firmly so that you really print the foliage well. Carefully peel back the paper towel to reveal your printed foliage. Carefully with your fingers remove each piece of foliage and set it aside to use again soon. Repeat the printing process again. Paint the foliage again with enough paint. Turn it over and press it down onto your white paper. Place the paper towel over top. Press firmly, making sure to get really good printing. Carefully remove the paper towel again and take care and remove each of the pieces of foliage, revealing more foliage printing that you will have filled all the gaps with. You can use a hairdryer on a low setting to help the drying process of your printing. Carefully cut along each side to create a nice square printing page. And there we have a completed piece of square printing page that is going to create a beautiful backdrop for your bird print that we're going to do in the next part of the project. Kia ora koutou tamariki mā, welcome back. Great to see you all here again. Today carries on from the wee tutorial that is at the beginning of this YouTube clip, where we made some nice background paper doing some foliage printing. It was a really fun, easy wee activity and something that you could definitely do again and use for wrapping paper even. It's quite a cool idea. Today you're going to need a few things. We need a vivid, black vivid, that's for later. I've got two just in case. And you need a pencil and a rubber. And you're going to be using your nice piece of paper that you made earlier on. Or else you can have a couple of practice runs on plain paper as well, which is also a really sensible idea. So place your piece of paper nice and flat in front of you so that you've got a nice flat working surface. We're going to draw a fantail today. So what you need to do is start with your head. Now the head is just a small circle. Fantail's heads are quite small. Can you see that on the page there? I've drawn my fantail head just quite small. Okay, and then the body links onto it and it's in the shape of an oval. And you will see when I show you that the line interlinks with the circle of the head. Can you see where it interlinks there? Okay. Eventually, of course, those lines in the middle there will get rubbed out. So that's where the body is going to be. Now I'm going to put a branch from one side of my piece of paper to the other to pretend that my fantail is sitting on. Alright, so there's my branch going across my piece of paper from one side to the other. Now the next piece here is a wee bit tricky. This is for doing the fan of the tail. So we're going to start about halfway down the body. So about here on the body, And we're going to do the first fan upwards, straight up. Then the next one is a little bit longer. Then the next one is a little bit longer. And moving all the way across. And the next one. And then you get to the middle and then you start coming down again. They're narrower at the bottom of the fan than at the top. I'm going to put one more short one back at the start there as well. You can see here that there's our tail, our fantail there that we've drawn. Okay, now I can see already that the bottom of my fantail is going to be a wee bit too long, so I'm just going to shorten that in a little bit, and I may even give it a better shaped tail, but that's good. That's great. Let's go back to the head of your fantail, and right on the front they have just a really little beak. A really little beak. Can you see that? Just a really little beak. Yeah, good. Now, what you need to do is really carefully, because you're using this special paper, you need to go around and just rub out the lines you don't want to see. Remember, we use a nice sketching line, so we're not pressing really hard. That helps for later on. Now, I'm also going to do these wee bits here, just two wee curves that join my neck of my bird, so that the neck joins the head to the body, so we don't have those hard circle lines. Okay, great. Now the next tricky bit that we're going to do here is the wing. The wing is tricky, and it kind of comes down low in a bit of a curve, and it comes up like your shoulder, so it has kind of a curve at the top. And this little fantail's wing is actually going to come down towards the branch a little bit. Here, I'll show you. It's kind of a banana shape, really, if you look at that. Can you see that? See how there's a bit of a banana shape on there? And you can see that that starts just here in the middle of the body, up near where the bird's shoulder would be. Good. Okay, so now I'm going to rub out these lines that are in the middle of his body that we don't need. Since we've joined the head to the body, we don't need those lines there anymore. You see that? And that looks so much better. Great. Okie doke. Let's put the eye on. And the eye is in, if you imagine a line coming in through the middle of the beak. So you draw the wee line through the middle of the beak. And then you carry on just about a finger width in, just in on his head. And they have just the tiniest wee eye. There we go. Just a tiny wee eye. Great. Really good. And then, remember we did that branch? So you're going to have legs that are going to come out, because of course they don't stand on nothing. And his legs are going to be just behind his wing, really. And they're just like little sticks. Can you see his legs there poking down under his wing onto the branch? And I'm just going to draw one toe from each foot onto the branch, because we probably wouldn't be able to see all of his toes on the branch. Okay, can you see that here? One toe onto the branch. Cool. Now then we also need to rub out a couple more lines. I'm going to rub out the lines, the sketching lines that I don't need from when I drew my wing. I'm going to keep just the outline of my wing. I don't want all the other bits. I'm also going to rub out the piece of the branch that my wing has gone over, because I don't want to draw that branch like it's in front of my wing. It's going to be behind the wing. The other bit that you can rub out is the piece of the body that is behind the wing. So this bit here, like where the body carries on down, and it comes in behind the wing. So we want to rub that out, because we don't want to, remember, be drawing that either. Now I am going to give my wee bird just a wee bit of a better shaped bottom. Rather than just a rounded bottom, I'm going to give it just a little bit of a feathery looking bottom. Just down there like that. Can you see that down there at the bottom? Yeah, that's good. That's a wee bit better, I think. Because remember though, because their tail is kind of the bottom, so that what we're actually looking at is mostly of their tail. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit serious. So let's go with, put our pencil and our rubber aside because we've rubbed out all those pieces. And let's get our vivid and let's get into this and have a wee go. So I'm going to start with my wing because that's actually the piece that's the closest to me. So there's lots of things that are behind it. I'm going to do a really, really nice, neat line, smooth. Try not to stop all the way around, following your line that you had because you rubbed out all of your other lines. There we go. Can you see your wing? There's the wing. Great. Let's move on to the next bit. The next piece I want to do is I'm going to do my branch. So I'm going to start at this side. And I'm going to go all the way across here. And I'm going to stop at that wing. And then I'm going to come back all the way along where the wing ends and the branch comes out the back of it. And I'm going to do the bottom side of my branch as well. Now once you've done that, you will be able to see that you've got some lines that you didn't need. So quite carefully rub those out. Remember, you're rubbing out over your beautiful foliage printing, so you do want to be careful not to rub out too much. Now what you're actually going to do largely is you're actually going to colour that in, that branch mostly, but that's all right, we will get to that in a minute. Right, the next job that I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the outline of my body. So I'm going to start just below the beak. I'm going to follow those lines really carefully. I'm going to stop at the wing because the wing is in front of the body. We're going to come back out here. That's right. Carefully, trying not to stop. Just a nice smooth line all the way around, following your line. And I'm going to join back up there where my beak is. Okay. Now my beak is going to be separate. So I'm going to do the beak. It's not too big, remember, it's just a little beak. Okay, and I'm also going to do my little eye. Okay, my wee eye. I'd quite like to get my beak a little bit sharper than that, so I may go to a different type of pen just to be able to get a bit of a sharper point on my beak, because a fantail really does have quite a sharp little beak. Looks a bit like a penguin at the moment. We need to give him his tail. Okie doke, next job, let's move into the tail. So we're doing these beautiful fantails and do one at a time. So each one starts at the body and goes up, around and back down to the body, okay, because the tail is coming up from behind the body. Here we go, let's do the next one. Follow that line back up again and down. Remember, the tail feathers are a little bit narrower at the bottom, so just remember to bring those back in so they're a little bit narrower at the bottom. Cool, let's do the next one. Follow that line back up again and keep going all the way until you have done all of those. Don't forget, at the end you can rub out your pencil lines that you haven't used, because you don't want to see those in your final piece of artwork. I can see lots of pieces of pencil line that I'm not actually going over, and I do not want to be able to see those at the end. Here we go. Here's his little tail, okay, poking up from behind him. So the next job that you're going to do is go around and just rub out. Make sure you've let that vivid dry. And rub out all those little bits of pencil lines that you have not used, because you don't want to have those left in your last final piece of artwork. Should look nice and clean. Mine, the tail was a bit, and I've missed a wee bit there at the beak. It looks good. Oh, I haven't done my legs. Let's do the legs quickly. Leg, toe, leg, toe. Okay, there we go. So there we go, sitting on there. Looks really good. Okay, the next little piece that I'm going to do is going to be to add some detail to the feathers. Right, so adding a little bit more detail to the feathers, the way I'm going to do this is I'm actually going to switch to a finer vivid. I don't want a really blunt vivid if I can. So I am going to try and switch to a finer one. Let's see how we go with this. Okay, so I'm going to start some feathers with a straight line down the middle of each of my tail feathers. A nice fine line. Have a look at that. Can you see that I've done a nice fine line down the middle of each tail feather? Cool. You guys do that. I'm going to finish these ones and then I'll show you the next step. Great. So you want those little lines to go all the way along, all the way down. Brilliant. Okay, the next bit for the tail feathers is to do, like on a feather, really soft little lines down each tail feather. Can you see that? Yeah. So let's do that on all of those tail feathers, all the way down. On all of the tail feathers. It should look quite nice and feathery, and once you've done this you can actually add some colouring in pencil or something similar, which would look really, really cool. Here we go. So you get the idea that that's what those tail feathers are going to look like. Great. I'm going to leave you to do that. Okay, and now coming down to the belly of your wee bird, I'm just going to give mine some wee feather lines like that. Okay, see the wee feather lines down there on his belly? It's just going to give a little bit of definition so that you can actually see that that's what it is. I'm also going to do the same on my wings. Give him some wee feathers. Just give a little bit of detail. Just like those lines you did on your tail feathers. There we go. Just a wee few more bits of detail there on his wings to show that, and we'll just do a couple more down the back. I have to swap vivids because my vivids are running out. Great. Now, as I said before, I'm going to just put a wee couple of lines on my branch as well, because a branch is never just a flat surface. Okay, and this is where I'm going to get into some crayons or Jovies or colouring in pencils, whatever you've got that you could add colour. I like to avoid using felt pen, but if that's all you've got, then get into it. Use the felt pens, it doesn't even matter. Okay, let's get started on adding some colour to our little fantail. Righty-ho, so I've got out my pencils and my Jovies, and I have just got a bit of a mixture of browns and blacks and greys that I will use to start with my tail. And I'm just going to really carefully colour it in, make the white go away, and I'm going to use a mixture of browns and blacks. It is fantails generally are a bit of a mixture of a browny, blacky, grey colours. There's that first wee feather on his tail feather. So if you just do all the feathers a bit like that, a little bit more black in there every now and again, okay, but make the white go away. So colour in all of those tail feathers, make the white go away. Same rule as I have for a lot of our art that we do, whether we're using paint or crayon or pastels, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to add a little bit of brown into there. Fill those wee gaps up with brown because it makes it a little bit easier, and you've already done your vivid outline, so you've got a nice clear line to follow. Away you go. Do those tail feathers pretty much the same, and then we will move on to doing the wing. I think will be the next bit that we do. Okie doke, so you've got your tail finished. Now we're going to move on to doing the wing. All right, and we're going to do it in just the same way. I think I might bring in a little bit of other colours as well. I might just do a little bit more black if I can in there. I'm just going to, and always moving in the direction of those feather shapes that you drew. So then you end up looking like you have got feathers in there. Can you see there? I'm doing those, making those marks with my coloured pencil in the shape of those feathers still, because that makes a huge difference. So follow those lines of the feather lines that you've drawn already. Now before we did all those lines with a vivid, you don't have to use a vivid. If you don't have a vivid, that's fine. You can use a black felt pen, or even if all you've got is a blue biro, you're still doing art, and it's great. So just use whatever you've got, adapt these ideas to, and use the things that you've got at home. Great, that's a lot of, I've put quite a lot of black marks on there. I am going to go through now and add some more brown. I think I might use the Jovi this time on this wing down here. I like being able to get my colours, and I think I might go for the brown at the bottom side of the feather, the wing, sorry. And we'll go for darker colours up the top. Okay, so I'm going to bring my grey in to the top. So work away at that. Keep moving in the direction of feathers. Don't go scribbling sideways, backwards and forwards. Keep moving along your wing. Okay, that's looking really good. Keep working at that. Well done. Okay, so now I've finished my wing, and you can see I've kept that little bit of a brown toning there. Oh, sorry. Brown toning down here, and we've gone for the darker at the top. Okay, so that ties in really nicely to your tail feathers. Now the next bit that we're going to work on, I am going to work on, is actually, I'm going to do my branch. I'd quite like to get that done, and I'm going to go for brown for my branch, brown and black, really quite dark if I can. So I'm going to have a wee hunt out, see what I've got, and we'll get on to that. One side to the other. You've already put some lines on your branch, so I'm going to press quite hard. Coloured pencils are awesome. I love coloured pencils, and they can be used for all sorts of different things. And most people have a handful of coloured pencils at home. So they're a really good resource to be able to use if you're doing art at home. And I do know also that the supermarket sells them. So if you don't have them, that could be something you could save up pocket money for. But I've done my brown all the way across, pressing quite hard to make the white go away, and just to also be trying to cover some of that foliage printing so that the foliage printing doesn't actually take over our whole picture. All right, that's looking really good. Now we've just got the body to do really, and that's is going to be largely browny black again, and we'll just fill in the whole body into those colours as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pop a couple of wee guidelines on my fantail, because I know that a lot of fantails have a little white, sort of like a wee stripe that comes back from their eye, back onto their forehead. Now, we're not going to go over this line with a vivid, but it's just to remind us that we're going to keep that area quite light coloured. Okay, that wee stripe behind his eye. The other place that I've also put a wee guideline is sort of on his belly. So just down from under his chin and down on his belly. I've put a wee line just here to show that these feathers down in here are often quite speckledy and light coloured as well. So I'm just not going to go super dark with blacks and greys. I'm going to go for maybe some light brown or some peachy brown colours in there as well. Okay, remember when you're colouring in your body and finishing your body that you still want to be moving in the direction like feathers. And feathers are waterproof, and it's because they're all falling down the body in the same direction. So we're just going to do our lines initially. We're going to start by just doing lines like this, so that we can remind ourselves that we need to be moving along the body. We don't just do colouring in like it's a colouring in book, okay? Nice, careful movements in the right direction, starting at his neck and coming along. Okay, we're going to remember to follow that wee bit around his eye. Just keep that light. Here we go. So you can see I've tried to do the lines so that they're in the direction of feathers. And that will remind you to keep colouring in that manner. Let's go. Let's get right and start colouring in between those lines now. Moving in those same directions. Don't forget to leave some space because you want to add some dark colours. I'm going to go in there with some dark brown up there, filling in the white bits with some dark brown. Good. Okay, this will take quite a while, so I'm going to leave you to work on that bit, and we'll come back together in a wee bit once we've all finished that bit of the tutorial. Okay, so our wee fantail is looking really, really cool. We've done a really good job, but I was thinking about it before, and I have noticed when I've seen fantails out and about that sometimes you do get just a hint of a dark green or a sort of like a bluey green colour. So I've got a Jovi, this colour, and I thought I might just add a tiny touch, just a touch, just to the back of on his back, where the sunlight might catch, or on the top of his head, just where a little bit of colour light might catch him. Can you see I've just added a tiny little bit? That's awesome. That looks really, really good. Good stuff. I think that's pretty well done. I think you've pretty well finished there. I'm just going to add a little bit more black around my face to my little bird. A little bit more detail to his eye. But that looks really cool. Now, at the beginning, I did draw a wee guideline around the edge of my piece of art. And so I am going to cut mine out. So I'm just going to cut it nice and straight. Trim those bits off so that my branch comes right to the edge. Cut it really nice and straight. Use a ruler if you need to. And then, and I can actually even see, I can see a couple of my wee bits of pencil lines on there. So again, let's get rid of those. And look, there we go. A piece of really cool quality art. If you've got some black paper at home, stick it onto a piece of black paper and get it on the wall. Don't forget to put the date on it. In fact, let's do it now. So I will put my name down here. Not with that vivid, it doesn't go. So, Ms. Jones. And I'm going to put the date on the back, not in pen though, just in pencil. And today's date, it is, Anzac Day was on the 25th, so it's the 27th of April 2020. Put the date on the back, really important. There we go, beautiful art. Get it up on the wall, take a picture a really good picture of it, nice and straight, nice and taking up most of the frame, and pop it on an email. Send me an email. I'd love to see what you've done.